It's Mailbox Monday, so today is the day that I answer your questions about copywriting, marketing, business building, and more. Specifically today, I have a question from Colin. Colin asks, I'm working as a copywriter for a consulting business. I want to make a better contribution to the business by improving my copywriting process and learning proven techniques so I can deliver more results to the table. But recently I've been learning a lot of stuff and it's getting harder to identify what to implement specifically. So my question is, how can I best choose techniques that work for our context? So more broadly or like higher level, Colin's saying, which copywriting skills are the most useful? Which copywriting skills are the most useful for me in my context? And it's a great question. So that's what we're going to answer today. Don't forget, if you have a question you'd like to have answered in an upcoming episode of Breakthrough Marketing Secrets, a Mailbox Monday episode, go to breakthroughmarketingsecrets.com/ask. The link is in the description with this episode, and you can submit your question for it to be answered. All right, so with that, let's dive into Colin's question. These are the proven direct response marketing, copywriting, and entrepreneurship success strategies you can use today to write your own ticket and create the life you want. I am Roy Furr, and this is Breakthrough Marketing Secrets. Now, here's today's breakthrough. All right, before we dive into the answer too deep, I want to say today's episode, as always, is sponsored by me. Specifically, today, the relevant training that I want you to check out is high velocity copywriting. High velocity copywriting. This is like my flagship copywriting training. So if you want to learn how to write direct response copy that gets results, if you want to write copy that gets results, if you want marketing that gets results, check out high velocity copywriting. The link is in the description, yes, and that's part of the BTMSinsiders training library. So instead of charging you hundreds or thousands for this high velocity copywriting training, you pay just one low monthly fee. You get instant streaming access to my entire catalog, over 150 total hours of copywriting and marketing training, including high velocity copywriting. So you can watch whatever you want, binge whatever you want, just dive in where it's relevant. And the link is in the description to both of those. Don't forget to check out all the links in the description, as well as like, comment, share, subscribe, engage with this episode in every way that you can so get more content like this delivered to you. And so the magical algorithms of the internet will share this with more people like you who will find it valuable. So let's dive in. Let's dive into which copywriting skills are the most useful. First things first, I want to say that it is really easy in answering this question to say like, oh, you need to learn how to write a headline. You need to learn how to write copy for Facebook ads. You need to learn how to write copy in this specific scenario. You need to learn video marketing or something. And all of that, pretty much all of that, I guess the headline would be the least appropriate for this judgment or statement about this. Pretty much all of that is very specific to technology, to media, like to a specific scenario, right? And that falls under what I call techniques and tactics. Now, techniques and tactics are useful. It's kind of where the rubber meets the road, right? But if you have a car that it doesn't have an engine to drive it and the rubber is meeting the road, well, it doesn't matter where the rubber meets the road because that's where it's going to stay. On the other hand, if you have a great engine in that car and you have the rubber meeting the road, that car is going to go. And the engine of copy, of marketing, is the underlying principles and strategy. And what I realized pretty early on is that while marketers who really understood how to generate results may vary a little bit in their techniques and tactics, or they're in this particular media or this particular technology or whatever, and their tactics and techniques have shifted to match that, they tend to agree when you get down to things like strategy and underneath that principles. And I came up with this whole model called architecture of a skill. And I want you to imagine that there's just this big pyramid, right? And at the top of the pyramid is the tactics that you use. It's the pointy part. It is what you see on the page, right? There's the tactics. And behind that tactic, like the specific headline formula that you use or something, behind that is a technique, or supporting that tactic is a technique. Oh, we need a headline formula that gets attention, or we need to follow Roy's audience benefits curiosity headline formula approach, right? There's a technique to that. And that supports the tactics. Well, what's supporting the techniques is a deeper strategy. The strategy is that you need to capture your prospects' attention quickly to pull them into your message. And so that underlying strategy supports the techniques that you would use, which are supporting the tactics that you would use. And then underneath the strategy itself, like the foundation of all of this, is the principles. And the principle might be that you need to get the attention of your audience and turn it into action, right? Like, and that is a underlying principle of effective marketing, that you need to be good at getting the attention of your target market and turning it into action. You need to be able to generate results. And when you focus down on the principles and strategy, when you get to this underlying layer that's not the superficial, like how do you write a who else headline or something like that, right? When you get down to the principles and strategy, that's where things start to get really important. It's also the most useful place for you to focus when you are learning about marketing, because media will always change. Technology will always change. The specific avenues of implementation will always change. You know, Facebook advertising this year is not what it was last year or the year before or the year before. Like, things are always changing. But fundamental underlying principles, and typically strategies as well, really don't shift that much through changes in time and media, etc. It's still the same fundamental process of like connecting with a market, getting them interested in your message and getting them to take action. And so the first thing that I would say is, when it comes to learning or deciding what you want to continue to implement, or out of the things you're learning, what do you focus on implementing? What I would say is, look at what the underlying principles are, the underlying goals, the underlying strategy, and figure out how anything that you implement would fit within that. So, for example, like, one of the biggest things that I'm sure that is important in your business is generating a response. And perhaps as a, inside a consulting business specifically, it would be generating applications, generating sales calls with the team who is the frontline sales team, right? So what generates that response? Focus on that underlying question. What can we do today that's going to generate response? And so what is the desired outcome? The desired outcome is that qualified prospects are submitting applications to speak with a member of our team. Okay, what action is measurable? So that's my next question. So what's the desired outcome? What action is measurable? The measurable action is submitting that application. The measurable The measurable action is maybe a click of the button that takes them to the application page. The measurable action is signing up for the webinar that has the page where they can click the button to go to the application page, right? So there are measurable actions that you want to that you want to track, that are the breadcrumbs towards the desired outcome. And then, as the copywriter, your role, how can you stimulate that action? So when you're learning all these techniques, you're saying, how does this serve my need and desire to stimulate the measurable action that leads to the desired outcome, right? How can I stimulate more applications, right? How can I stimulate people signing up to watch our webinar? How can I stimulate whatever it is, right? And then test new things, test things that you think work better than what you have in place. Just test, right? And the ultimate goal as a copywriter is to think, how can I generate measurable, valuable business results? How can I generate results for my business? And so in that context, like specific to a consulting business, there's probably going to be a lot of lead generation that you need to focus on, a lot of learning how to make offers. And I even say that in the context of an offer, like I have this Irresistible Offers training inside BTMSinsiders. A lot of offers for a business like yours may not necessarily look like somebody exchanging money to get a specific product. It may be what you are promising, what benefit you're promising in exchange for them being on that call that they have to fill out an application to get on. So, for example, I've done some work related to financial advisors, and it's a retirement planning consultation or something like that, which is the offer, even though that is also a sales appointment, right? So focus on learning lead generation and offers, and then if you are writing longer copy or helping structure the webinars or whatever, focus on learning things like the deep structure, learning the superficial, like words that people use in copy. That's techniques and tactics, and it's less valuable than understanding the deep structure of like how human beings make buying decisions and being able to help them, to aid them along the way as they are making a buying decision inside your market. And then I don't know, maybe this is going a little bit too far with this lesson, but I still remember watching Bill Bonner speak, and he is, one of the world's first billionaire copywriters, as far as I know. Started a business based on a sales letter and is now worth over $1 billion. And he said that over the course of his time, learning copywriting, training copywriters, like doing copywriting, building a business worth over $1 billion in copywriting, like that leverages copywriting. He says that he's learned thousands of different copywriting techniques and tactics, etc., copywriting rules. And over time, he realized that he needs to just forget them. And he needs to, when he just sits down to write, he sits down and he says, what's the story that I want to tell that I believe is going to be most appealing to my readers? And how can I tell it in the most compelling way? And so to some degree, yes, I think that you should learn all the rules and techniques and tactics and strategies and principles and all of that. And when it comes down to it, the one thing that you need to remember that you're always doing is you're sitting down to communicate with a human being and trying to get them inspired, trying to compel them to take action. And a lot of times trying to implement specific copywriting techniques or gimmicks or whatever is going to get in the way of that human-to-human communication. And so you will benefit quite a bit from when it actually comes time to like sit down and write copy. Yes, it's important that you learned all those techniques and you see how other people do it. But ultimately, you need to sit down and you need to write from one human being to another. And that's my recommendation, even as I teach all the different things that inform that, all those different rules and templates and structures and all of that. Ultimately, what you're trying to do is build this foundation up so that when it actually comes time to sit down and communicate, you can forget all of it and just sit down and communicate. So that's my thoughts for you today. The important things to focus on. And don't forget, if you want to go deeper and specifically get templates, and I teach these 3 big idea types in high velocity copywriting that pretty much all big winners in copywriting are based on one of these 3 main big ideas. And they're taught in my high velocity copywriting program with specific deep structure of the copy that you would use if your idea falls into one of these 3 categories, and they work across markets and everything. So check out the link in the description if you'd like to learn more about that. I'm Roy Furr. This is Breakthrough Marketing Secrets. With every episode, I aim to help you increase your marketing genius. Yes, one episode at a time. And I hope that I have done that here. And I will catch you again in the next episode. See you soon. Thank you once again for tuning in to this daily episode of Breakthrough Marketing Secrets. Remember, check out the links with this episode for even more value. Now make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, and engage in every way you can to keep this show going and growing and delivering daily value to you. I'll catch you soon for your next big breakthrough.